A townhouse, or townhouse, as used in North America, Asia, Australia, South Africa and parts of Europe, is a type of medium-density housing in cities, usually but not necessarily terraced or semi-detached. A modern townhouse is often one with a small footprint on multiple floors. The term originally referred in British usage to the city residence of a member of the nobility, as opposed to their country seat. Background: historically, a townhouse was the city residence of a noble or wealthy family, who would own one or more country houses in which they lived for much of the year. From the 18th century, landowners and their servants would move to a townhouse during the social season. In the United Kingdom, most townhouses were terraced. Only a small minority of them, generally the largest, were detached, but even aristocrats whose country houses had grounds of hundreds or thousands of acres often lived in terraced houses in town. For example, the Duke of Norfolk owned Arundel Castle in the country, while his London house, Norfolk House, was a terraced house in St James's Square over 100 feet wide. North America: in the United States and Canada, a townhouse has two connotations. The older predates the automobile and denotes a house on a small footprint in a city, but because of its multiple floors, it has a large living space, often with servants' quarters. The small footprint of the townhouse allows it to be within walking or mass transit distance of business and industrial areas of the city, yet luxurious enough for wealthy residents of the city. In areas so densely built that detached single-family houses are uncommon or almost non-existent, ownership of a townhouse connotes wealth. Some examples of cities where townhouses are occupied almost exclusively by the wealthy are New York City, Chicago, Boston, Philadelphia, Toronto, Washington, D.C., and San Francisco. Rowhouses are similar, and consist of several adjacent, uniform units originally found in urban areas on the East Coast such as Philadelphia, Baltimore, and Washington, D.C., but now found in lower-cost housing developments in suburbs as well. A townhouse is where there is a continuous roof and foundation and a single wall divides adjacent townhouses. A rowhouse will generally be smaller and less luxurious than a dwelling called a townhouse. The name townhouse, or townhomes, was later used to describe non-uniform units in suburban areas that are designed to mimic detached or semi-detached homes. Today, the name townhouse is used to describe units mimicking a detached home that are attached in a multi-unit complex. The distinction between dwellings called apartments, and those called townhouses is that townhouses usually consist of multiple floors and have their own outside door as opposed to having only one level and an interior hallway access. They can also be a stacked and such townhouses have multiple units vertically, normally each with its own private entrance from the street or at least from the outside. They can be side by side in a row of three or more, in which case they are sometimes referred to as a Euro. A townhouse in a group of two could be referred to as a townhouse, but, in Canada and in the United States, it is typically called a semi-detached, and, in some areas of Western Canada, a half-duplex. In Canada, single-family dwellings, be they any type such as single-family detached homes, apartments, mobile homes or townhouses for example, are split into two categories of ownership: condominium where one owns the interior of the unit, and also a specified share of the undivided interest of the remainder of the building and land known as common elements. Freehold, where one owns exclusively the land and the dwelling without any condominium aspects. Condominium townhouses, just like condominium apartments, are often referred to as condos, thus referring to the type of ownership rather than to the type of dwelling. Since apartment-style condos are the most common, when someone refers to a condo, many erroneously assume that it must be an apartment-style dwelling and conversely that only apartment-style dwellings can be condos. All types of dwellings can be condos, and this is therefore true of townhouses. A brownstone townhouse is a particular variety found in New York. Asia, Australia and South Africa. In Asia, Australia and South Africa, the usage of the term follows the North American sense. Townhouses are generally found in complexes. Large complexes often have high security, resort facilities such as swimming pools, gyms, parks and playground equipment. Typically, a townhouse has a strata title, that is a type of title where the common property is owned by a corporation of individual owners and the houses on the property are owned by the individual owners. In population-dense Asian cities dominated by high-rise residential apartment blocks such as Hong Kong, townhouses in private housing developments remain almost exclusively populated by the very wealthy due to the rarity and relatively large sizes of the units. Prominent examples in Hong Kong include 7/8, in which a 5,067 square foot townhouse sold for 285 million Hong Kong dollars in 2008, or 57,000 Hong Kong dollars per square foot, a record in Asia, and the Beverly Hills, which consists of multiple rows of townhouses with some units as large as 11,000 square feet. Commonly in the suburbs of major cities, an old house on a large block of land is demolished and replaced by a short row of townhouses, built end onto the street for added privacy. See also: townhouse, duplex, terraced house, list of house types, notes. Further reading: Cunningham, Peter. Handbook of London Past and Present, London, 1850. Daisy, Countess of Fingal. 70 Years Young. First published 1937.